Hi, welcome to Danette Gets Creative. I'm Danette, and welcome back to episode number 2 of Scrappy Doll series. If you've happened to miss the first one and you're joining me for the first time, go on back to episode 1 where we make a Scrappy doll. In this episode, I'm going to be working on creating a dress. You'll notice in a moment that I've created a pattern of my own, which I have saved as a PDF, and I'm going to attach in the description block below. So come on along, let's make a dress. So you can see right here I'm showing you the pattern, 2 options, one with sleeves, one without. I actually start tracing the pattern with the sleeves, but as I progress through the video, you're going to notice that I end up changing the sleeve to the sleeveless dress. I'm using an old pillowcase that used to be my mom's. And I'm actually going to use the embroidered part as part of the dress bottom. So right now I'm just kind of prepping the pillowcase by ripping off the edges and getting ready to trace out the front and 2 of the backs. As you will see, I'm going to trace, I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to stitch it together. So again, I've created this pattern. I will attach it below in the description box. Feel free to print it. It will be in PDF form. And as you can see, as I mentioned, I did trace it with sleeves, but because I made my Scrappy doll too thick, the sleeves didn't work so well, so I end up cutting off the sleeves, but I do have a plan to add lace to the sleeves later. Make sure when you're tracing, and you'll see that I did it there, I turned the pattern over so that you have opposites. I did consider putting it sideways, and then I remembered that most fabrics have a grain in them, so I chose to go below it. And also just as a reminder, because in the future I want to do some decorations on here, some embroidery, some patchwork, I chose a light color, so you may also want to do the same. Okay, all finished cutting. Now what I've done is I've placed the 2 back pieces on top of the front pieces. If your fabric has a right side and a wrong side, you'll want to put right sides together. And what I'm going to end up doing is sewing down and making the sleeves and sewing down the body of the bodice of the dress. So you'll just see I'm going to get started here sewing down one arm, sewing under the arm and down the side. Just as a reminder, I do end up cutting off the sleeves later, which you'll see it becomes sleeveless. So I'm just taking some simple little stitches and sewing together the upper part of the dress. Let's finish up sewing the body of the dress. And now I just want to show you that this is the body of the dress all sewn together. And here's what I use for skirt. But I want to make a correction. As you see there, it says 16 inches wide. I actually doubled that. It is 32 inches wide. And for me, I just used the full size of the pillowcase. And I'm just measuring the 10 inches long. Because as I mentioned earlier, I want to include that embroidery piece. So all I did was I took the full width of the pillowcase. And just a reminder that that 16 inches is actually doubled, and it's 32 inches by 10 inches long. So what I end up doing now is, and if you weren't like me and it was already sewed together, you would have to sew a seam. But what I end up doing now is end up taking some gathering stitches. Because this is 32 inches around, and obviously the top part of the dress isn't that wide, I need to gather it. So I'm just taking some simple stitches, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide, gathering it up so that I can make it tighter and sew it into the body of the upper part of the dress. So continue all the way around, making your gathering stitches, not too close, until you meet back at the start. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pin the bottom of the dress to the top of the dress. And how I did that was I matched my seams. So I took my back seam where the two pieces are sewn together on the body of the dress, the big part of the dress, and I matched that with the seam in the back of the upper body. And then I just squeezed it and pushed it and shimmied it around, and I don't know what the technical term for that is, until I fit it within the bodice of the dress. And then I sewed around it actually twice, just because there's so much material and so much gathered there that I wanted to make sure that it was well secured. So I'm just finishing up here with the gathering stitch, and then you'll see me try to align it up so that it fits within the space or the opening of the upper body of the dress. That probably seems a bit confusing, but you'll see here. I'm matching it up with that back seam, right sides together if your material has a right side, and seams out because you don't want your seams in. And you can see I'm just pulling and wrapping around and pulling and wrapping around until the two back seams come together, and then I actually just space it so everything else spaces as equal as possible. I'm sure there's probably a fancy way of doing that. You know what? This worked, and I'm sure you will figure it out as well, and it's going to look beautiful. So remember, I do sew it twice because there's so much bulk inside of there. All sewn down, turning it right sides out. You can see now it no longer has sleeves. I'm going to fit it onto my Scrappy doll, and we're going to check it out. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and you're going to stick around for next episode, because my plan is to do some embroidery and design some patterns onto her dress and make this dress feel pretty and come alive. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Jeanette. Hopefully I'll see you around in episode 3, where we decorate this girl and make her all pretty. Thanks for watching. Bye.